Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Taylor Field, and yes, you are correct. I am here because the Leprechaun Returns movie has dropped the 8th movie in the successful franchise, and I am here to review it and give you all the insane little deets on the whole film here. But before I get to all that juicy stuff, just want to shout out, upcoming tomorrow there is, or right now if it's already released at this point in time, the Smash tourney has begun, so make sure you go check that out, kickstarting the next season of the Gauntlet, and it's gonna be a great time, so be sure to go and check that out. Some form of our GeekVerse connections there on our Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. But anyways, that aside, let's talk Leprechaun. So I'm going to start off with the norm, give you a little bit of a non-spoilers review at first here, and then we'll dive right into the heart and soul of it. So this movie, it blew my mind that it was actually coming out. I love the old Leprechaun movies. The first one that kickstarted Jennifer Aniston's career, and the other ones that are really, really good. The second one, the third one, we got Leprechauns in Space, Back in the Hood 2. These were fantastic films. I'm a man who loves me some Chucky. I love me some Jason, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Michael Myers. These are awesome films. And Leprechaun is right up there with it. This guy, and Warwick Davis just plays a fantastic Leprechaun in the original. And I saw at Walmart, actually, you can get the bundle of, I think it's all, just had 6 films, not all 7, but 6 films for like $10. I gotta go back there and swing and pick it up because that's a steal of a deal, and there's just so much that I need to, so much I gotta just fill my head with again from that kind of universe and world. So, but anyways, that being said, this movie, basically, if you did not know, it essentially acts as a direct sequel to the original film. So it ignores all the other sequels. So all the other ones that happen don't actually take place in this universe. So it's basically, it starts off fairly strongly. And of course, it has a few moments where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's makes sense. Of course, like whatever. And they're setting it up, and you learn about certain facts and history about the character, and then you learn some other connections, and you see lots of familiar settings and all that stuff, which is cool, and lots of good shoutouts, callbacks to the original. That being said, it just starts to take a wild turn and goes crazy. The gore factor in this movie is definitely off the charts. A lot better than I thought it was going to be, and it delivers. It's good. The new actor who is playing the Leprechaun, Lubden, I guess is the Leprechaun's name, Lyndon Porco, he does a great job as playing Lubden, and just overall, he just delivers. From everything that Lubden, the Leprechaun, says, it's just so freaking funny. I'm just laughing my head off. There's several moments in this movie where I turn to my girlfriend and I just call it out oh, that just happened, oh my god, I can't believe it. It just made it so much more enjoyable. And if you've seen the movie and you're following this with me now, I'll explain those moments in the spoilers because they are too good. Oh, they are so juicy, filled Leprechaun gold, pot of gold content. So anyways, that being said, I would highly recommend watching this movie. Don't watch the other ones if you haven't seen them. Just watch Leprechaun 1 with Jennifer Aniston, and then watch this one, and you're good to go. I really do hope that many of you will consider giving this a watch. The fact that you're listening to a review for it shows that you have an interest in it. And it took me a while to find it, to rent it online, because it's a direct-to-TV kind of movie. But I found it and I rented it, and it was definitely worth the $4.99 that I spent, not including taxes. So here we go, right into spoiler territory. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bam! So the Leprechaun starts off, and we get introduced to the main girl. Obviously, we know that the main girl is Jennifer Aniston's daughter. Oh wow, Travis calling me out right now. Just a warning for tomorrow, but I'll give you credit. You responded unlike the champ. Ooh, there's some heat going on for this gauntlet match tomorrow. Anyways, can't get into that. So here we are. The girl we get introduced to is Jennifer Aniston's daughter, and for some reason she's going to college in this town that her mother got, Jennifer Aniston got severely fudged over in by the leprechaun, and so she's going there, and while she's there, she gets to meet Ozzy, that simple kind of guy that was helped them in the first movie, and he gives her a ride, and they go right back to the house that Jennifer Aniston stayed in with everyone, and you see the well and everything. So she gets out, and sure enough, you hear like a couple little leprechaun giggles, like tee hee, and she just goes on her merry way, and then Ozzy drops his cell phone, and but he doesn't realize that, so then he leaves, and then he ends up coming back because he realizes, oh, I forgot my cell phone, and he picks up his phone off the ground, and then you hear tee hee, and he goes over to the well with a fake 4-leaf clover because, fake is gonna do the trick. You need a real 4-leaf clover. So he goes up to the well, and then all this water shoots out, and apparently the water shooting out did something because it hit him in the face, and he freaked out, and he drove off, and then he stopped, and he got out of his truck, and the leprechaun burst out of his chest. Full on alien moment here. And he's just right away, even though it's gross, you just fall in love with Lubdan, the leprechaun, because he's just talking in his little Irish accent, and I mean this in the nicest way. I'm not prejudiced or anything, but he's talking in his Irish accent, and speaking in rhymes and little riddles and all this Dr. Seuss rhyme stuff, and it's really funny, and it makes me laugh. I like the movie, I like the character a lot. So, that being said, she's like, oh, it's time for a killing, and he goes out, and he's like, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna kill him. And so he goes back, and he's oh, there's that going off right there. Okay, he's he's going back to the cabin to kind of check in on what the crew is going on. So basically, this cabin is essentially, it's a long ways away from the college, the university, but it's basically acting as a beta house or whatever for students or something. I'm not sure the actual term for that kind of thing, but it's like a beta kappa house or whatever for all the college these girls to stay in. And so the Jennifer Aniston's daughter is staying in here, and there's 2 other girls there, and they essentially are making the house completely green and efficient, and they have all this technology that they're setting up and making the house completely independent off the grid. And 2 guys are there just hanging out and all that stuff. So first night goes good, they get it all set up, and it's all peachy and all that stuff. And then the next day rolls around, and I think that's when the leprechaun starts to do the killing. He makes his introduction though when the girl goes into her room. Jennifer Aniston's daughter goes into her room, and you see there's this head of a teddy bear sitting on the bed, and then she walks over to it, and then she picks up the body that was ripped off and thrown on the floor. She picks it up, the leprechaun's standing on the bed with the head on him, pulls it off, and is like, oh, hello, and all that stuff, and is talking his little rhymes and stuff, and she's freaking out, and she runs outside and is like, there's a little green dwarf inside or something like that, and obviously her friends don't believe her. But then, while she's freaking out and telling her friends, Leprechaun goes to the kitchen and starts talking to one of the other girls in there who's a bit of a bitch, and she's smoking and drinking and has an attitude, and Lubdan's like, oh, what are you doing there? Can you tell me where me gold is? And she's like, I don't know where your gold is. I can help. So obviously, she's helping the leprechaun, but she runs out, and she looks at Jennifer Aniston's daughter, and she's like, hey, help, there's a little green man in there. She also took a selfie with the leprechaun, but these friends are like, no, there's no little green man, you're just losing your mind, you're going crazy. And but the girl comes running out, and she's like, oh, there's a little green man in there, and look at the picture, and they're like, oh, ha ha ha, nice try. They don't even believe it, and they're looking at the freaking picture of this thing, which would sell me on it if that's what happened. But anyways, so they didn't believe that, but they continue on, and then the leprechaun ends up making a big appearance, and he ends up solar panels on the roof. There's one dude standing there, and he goes up and he drop kicks the leprechaun down. And these are moments that really make me laugh, is when he just kicks the leprechaun down, and the leprechaun's like, ah! And it is so freaking funny just how this little leprechaun Lubdan gets knocked out, but he just gets back up, and he's getting his magic back, and he like flicks the solar panel down. The solar panel comes off the roof and slices this boy right in half. It is brutal. OMG. So it slices him in half, and then the rest of these people, they're like, oh, we need the keys to the car to get out of here. And they're like, okay, we gotta go and get the keys back in the house. They go back into the house, and then the girl who took the selfie with the leprechaun, she locks Jennifer Aniston's daughter in the basement, which is horrible. She's like, oh, you can tell him where the gold is, you can do that, and we're gonna get away. And so they go up, and they get into the car, and when they're in the car, like, okay, let's go, come on, hurry before he comes. And then you hear this voice, best be on our way, he's probably really close by now. And you look and see the leprechaun just chilling in between the two of them. It's great, in the back seat. And all you see is the doors swing open, and you hear, ah! The guy just backhands the leprechaun out of the car. It was freaking great. That alone is worth the $5 that I paid to see this movie. So they drive off, and Leprechaun's like, tee. And but sure enough, something happens to the car. I think it runs out of gas, right? Runs out of gas, and so obviously then they go out on foot, and then you hear this like, and so at this point you don't fully understand or comprehend what's coming. But earlier in the movie, there was a guy using a drone and had a camera on it, and he was circling the perimeter, filming the house that they were building, because it was off the grid and everything, completely self-sustainable. And it was a pretty dang nice drone. This is one of my favorite parts I've ever seen. And this is movie magic, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not, the leprechaun comes in with the drone, and he is riding on this thing, and it was absolutely fantastic. You won't see that in any other form of content. Captain America ain't got that. Avengers Endgame ain't got that. And if it does, then kudos to it for taking that kind of bold move and bold play. But you know what? Here is Lubden the Leprechaun flying on his drone, and he comes in, he's chasing them, they're dodging around and everything, and they they end up whacking him on the drone, and he goes right into a tree, and a branch goes right through Lubden the Leprechaun's head, and he just does his little yell, and it's just so funny. And I mean that in a non-sick, gross, weird way. So they keep on going on foot, and they eventually find a abandoned truck or whatever, and they find out like, oh, the leprechaun's gold is in here or something like that, and they pull the gold out, and then they learn that one of the girls spent all the gold because she found it a while ago, and she had like IOUs written up, but she used the gold to basically fund this project of having a self-sustainable house and everything. And they realize like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Like, this isn't good. We gotta get the leprechaun his gold. So they end up regrouping. The girl, Jennifer Aniston's daughter, manages to get out of the basement and regroup with them and everything. That's actually how they found the gold in the first place, because she learned out where it was and in the basement. So as that happens, the one dude has been separated, and so now there's just the three girls. The one dude basically found the drone and is trying to fix it, and he fixes it, and then he's flying it around, and he's like, he sees the leprechaun down below, and the leprechaun is like, hello, my little birdie. Hee hee hee. And so the leprechaun takes control of the drone by magic. So the guy is holding the remote saying, come on, come on. He's standing in front of a tree saying, come on, no, no, no. And the drone's just steadily, monotonely hovering towards him. And the guy's like, no, no, no. Ah! And he's standing there. And he had about 5 seconds to move. Tons of room to move. But he didn't. And the drone just goes up and starts slicing through his head. And he dies. 0 cents. That is the one con I have with this movie, is he did not move. Now, that being said, he ends up dying, of course. So the the leprechaun ends up moving on and tracks him to the house, the 3 girls, but they go back and they end up figuring out a plan to lure him. So she basically takes whatever little gold they had left, puts it in like in the cauldron. Underneath the cauldron, puts a bunch of tampons in there. Then she lures the leprechaun in. He ties her up and is like, okay, I'm gonna count me gold. You stay right there. And So she does that, and he's counting his gold, and he pulls out a tampon, and then all of a sudden, the two other girls jump out from side by side of the leprechaun, and they throw iron all around him, trapping him in there, which is great because iron is obviously a deterrent for leprechauns, obviously. So they trap him in the circle of iron, and he can't do anything. And then they make there's a clover patch out back. So what they do is they take they take clovers, and they have been mixing them into drinks. So they take a hose and a pump, and they shove the hose down his throat and attach it to the pump, and they start pumping him full of clover juice. And he blows up and expands, and he pops. And there's green goop everywhere, and it is grody. So that being said, it looks like they've defeated it, and they're like, okay, we gotta burn every little bit of this leprechaun, otherwise he'll come back. So they keep the one clean-free girl who spent all the gold in the place to sweep up the leprechaun, and the other girls go outside, basically to, I don't know, I can't remember what they were doing, they're just outside. So the one girl is sweeping up the leprechaun bits and all that stuff, and then she starts hearing little moans, and the leprechaun goop or whatever starts forming up in the little leprechauns. You got about 10 of these little bastards running around going tee hee hee tee hee, and they end up like jumping on her and biting her nose, and she's freaking swinging around, taking them down, squishing them and stuff. And she turns around and she says, "Okay, I didn't spend like 2 years in South Africa protecting endangered species because I'm gonna take you guys down." And she steps forward and trips over a wire. And as she was tripping, the leprechauns pushed over the shelf a tiny little shovel trophy that she had won for one of her excursions, I guess. And it fell, and the shovel part was straight up, and her head went down and landed right on it, and it like pierced into her head, cutting the top of her head off. And all you hear the leprechaun say is, "She couldn't dig herself out of that one." Those are the kind of lines that are so good in this movie, and why you have to give it a try. It's so punny. It's fantastic. So that happens. The girls outside heard the scream, and they come back in. They're like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And they see the leprechauns forming into the one big leprechaun again. And so he starts going after them and successfully manages to really hurt one of the girls pretty badly. But they managed to, if I remember it, they got out of the house. And, no, they hadn't got out of the house yet. They, they lit him on fire, and they managed to get the house and have the house start to burn. And the leprechaun was still coming after them, though, even though he was lit on fire, and it was pissing him off. So they run back to the basement, and they close the door behind them, and they run down to the bottom of the stairs. And this is, again, easily another $5 moment that I'd spent on this movie. All you hear is, "Ah!" and the leprechaun yell, and he flies down the staircase on the door. On the pantry door, he glides down. It is some of the greatest cinematography I've ever seen in a film. Oh my god, it was fantastic. So, that being said, he glides down, and he's trying to get to them, and doesn't get them in time, and the girls get out of the basement window, and the house ends up exploding, and one of the shards flies through one of the girls' like upper shoulders, but she lives, she's okay. So Jennifer Aniston's daughter helps the girl along, and they manage to get the attention of someone driving by. I think he was the dean of the university, and he's like, "Oh my god, girls, you okay?" And he helps them, gets them in the car, and they drive off. And they're safe. And then you find out the leprechaun is still alive, of course. He's just walking down the side of the road, and a truck drives by, and he's like holding his thumb out, and the truck driver's like, "Hop in the back," and he's like, "Okay," and he hops in the back, and there's a bunch of chickens, and he's got a bunch of feathers on him and everything, and he just looks pissed. But apparently he's going to the town where the girl is from, so I think he's gonna obviously get his revenge. But other than that, you know, leprechaun flying on drone, leprechaun flying downstairs, leprechaun being in the car. There was a line where he said, "You give nice head." I can't remember what exactly that scene it was connected with, but again, there's so many puns. Like, she couldn't dig herself out of that one. It's so good. Honestly, it's a fantastic movie. And you know what? Just for you guys, I'm actually going to pull up the... And for Travis, too. Travis, you'll get a kick out of this. I'm going to pull up the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie, because I need to know. This is going to be some fantastic stuff. Ooh, Leprechaun back in the hood. Leprechaun in space. Leprechaun Returns 2018. This movie had... The tomato meter is not available, but 80% of the audience score liked it. That gotta count for something. It has a 3.8 out of 5 average rating. That's pretty great. It's only 92 minutes, which is pretty good. Oh, here's some reviews. With its bare-bones plot, lackluster characters, and foolish adherence to slasher tropes, Leprechaun Returns is a film that should have been left at the bottom of the well. Well, that's unfortunate. He gave it a 3.5 out of 10. Moving on. Leprechaun Returns mixes red blood and green goo with exquisitely gory results, but Steven Konstanski's command over the top deaths isn't enough to distract from the film's flat-footed storytelling jig. 5 out of 10, okay. With some riotously inventive kills, a load of silly humor, and a few throwbacks to the original, Returns should please longtime fans of the series and newcomers alike. 8 out of 10. That is my kind of critic right there. I'm digging it. I know for that, I got some facts here for you. So, supposedly the main character is the daughter of Jennifer Aniston's character, Tori Redding, from the original film, obviously. It was filmed in South Africa. Initially, the project will be distributed on Sci-Fi on its television network. However, it had some problems with Lionsgate regarding the release of the DVD. Interesting. Warwick Davis has not commented on the project since it was announced. Mark Holton, who plays Ozzy, played him in the original Leprechaun, so that was a good throwback. The release of this film, automatically the sequels of the original Leprechaun are alternative stories. Lionsgate initially tried to contact Jennifer Aniston to resume her character from Tori Redding. However, the production company clarified that an economic agreement was not reached with the actress, so she ended up being replaced. Lyndon Porco, who plays Lubdan in the film, is known for having lent his participation in the Little Man movie. That's cool. It is the second film of the franchise and not having the participation of Warwick Davis as Lubdan. Mark Jones, the creative producer and director of the first Leprechaun film, was initially in the project as one of the executive producers. However, he withdrew from the film for salary reasons. Warwick Davis, who portrayed the Leprechaun in the previous installments, was offered the chance to reprise his role but declined. He said his view of the genre has changed significantly since becoming a father and doesn't think he'll appear in any more horror films. And I respect that. Good for him. The skin of Lubdan resembles ash during almost the entire film. This is a reference to the alleged death of Lubdan in the 1993 film. That's pretty cool. It is the only film in the franchise where Lubdan has heterochromia, that is, the different colored eyes. The outfit used by Leprechaun in this film is inspired by outfits that his character used in the third and fourth films. And the fact that this film takes place 25 years after Tori, Nathan, Alex, and Ozzy condemned Lubdan to remain in the well of the property. This film also tries to correct the plot errors and plot holes that establish the sequels of the original film. Errors like that Lubdan dies by explosions or fire, being that it is capable of regenerating itself, or the fact that it never left the well of the Redding as to appear in Leprechaun 2. So, makes you kind of look at it like, oh, maybe it was other Leprechauns in the other films too. So that's pretty much it. I would definitely recommend this movie, though. It is just a fun time. Watch with your friends. And I'm going to give this movie a solid... I'm going to go with that critic and give it an 8.10, you know. Put my hands in the... out there with the Rotten Tomato critic guy right there. 8.0 out of 10. This movie was just too much fun. It had so many good moments, so many laughs, and yeah, I easily will watch this again. I highly recommend it. So until next time, be sure to check out, we got lots of other content here on the GeekVerse. We got the Star Wars Clone Wars retrospective happening right now if you donate a little bit towards GeekVerse podcast on Patreon. You can also early access to a bunch of other shows as well that's happening. Be sure to tune in. We got the Aquaman non-spoilers review that is dropped. We also got Spider-Verse non-spoilers and spoilers reviews that we just dropped. We also have a Bumblebee review that will be dropping soon next week. And as well as that Aquaman spoilers review next week as well. So we got a lot of good content on the way. A lot more just around the corner. The Golden Geeks is literally closing in as we speak. It's literally only a few more weeks away in the new year, so it'll be a great time. So be sure to stay connected with that, and just be sure to check out all our social media sites like our Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podbay, and obviously iTunes and Facebook and GeekVerse podcasts. So there's lots of good stuff to check out, lots of stuff for everyone. So until next time, we'll see you in the search bar.